It's been raining for almost 3 straight days. Everything is just soaking wet. I'm gonna try and get back on the working on the house today, getting started on the porch. I've been collecting a bunch of hickory nuts for the pigs. I normally come out here every day and try to dump out at least 2 5-gallon buckets. Everything is just covered in mud and water. But I'm going to get back on the house today and see how much I can get done in the next couple of days before the rain gets here again. I'm getting ready to start attaching all my floor joists, but I need to square it up. I have my ledger board on both sides, but I need to be able to attach my first floor joist to be square with this ledger board. And the way I'm going to do that is use the 3-4-5 rule. I know a lot of you guys have probably know all about the 3-4-5 rule. If you've built barns or buildings or shops or whatever, it's just a basic right triangle. It works in any multiplication. I mean, if you're starting from scratch, you can double it, triple it. 6, 8, 10. 9, 12, 15, however you want to do it, whatever works out for you. For me, since I already have 2 parallel surfaces, I have a known distance. So my 4 foot, or I could double it and make it 8 foot, it's not going to come out exact. What I have is 100 inches. So I need to find the correct distance for all 3 sides, and it's really simple, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. All right, it's still a little windy out here, so bear with me. But the way this works is you have 3 sides to your triangles, and one side would be 3 foot, 1 or inches, or however you're doing it. And you can multiply this by whatever you want, as long as they're all 3 done by the same number. Mine is 100 inches. Say this is the house over here, and this is the ledger board by the porch. On the outside, my measurement's 100 inches. So to get my number to multiply everything by, it's pretty simple. The closest I have on the 3-4-5, it would be, I could double it and be 6, 8, and 10. So if I take my 96 inches and divide this 100 by 96, that gives me a 1.0417. Then all I have to do is multiply the other 2 sides by that same number, which this would be 72 inches, and this would be 120, and that gives me these 3 dimensions. So this one's a known one already, so that's not going to change. So now I can start right here at this edge, pull the tape down here, and make a mark at 75 inches. Since I know the other one is 120, or excuse me, the other one is 100 inches, and my other side of my triangle is going to be 125, you just bring this one right over here, and you just come right down this edge till you find 125 inches. And that gives you a right triangle. Now you have a known dimension directly across from each other to pull your measurements from. Now if I pull the tape measure all the way down to here, where it was 75 inches, from the very end to right here, I'm at 84 3/4. So now I just come over here and I go down there to where my mark came out for 125, and I pull the tape down here, make the same mark at 84 3/4, and that's the very outside edge that will match that board. Then I put Then I can just put my my first floor joist on here, and every one after that should be parallel to each other, and just run them all the way to the other end. And that's the easiest way to square it up. You don't have to use squares, and if you were doing this from scratch on a building, you would use 2 different tape measures, and you know, you would start at a known corner and then move out and pull 2 tape measures until they lined up till you got your other 2 dimensions. I already have a known dimension, which makes it a lot easier. You just do it with 1 tape measure, and it just takes a minute. Now I'll just work my way right on down the rest of the ledger board and then come back and do this other side. Then it's just a matter of setting all the joists in place. I'm having to square the ends up. I have to cut the boards off anyway. I screwed up when I set this deck up. When I set these porch posts back in the winter, I don't know if I was cold, I don't know what I was thinking, but I set them at 8 foot on centers. Well, it's not going to do me any good to put them 8 foot on centers if I put my ledger board on the back side, which made I can't use an 8 foot floor joist. I had to buy 10 foot. Now I'm having to cut each one of them off, so I don't know what I was thinking, but it is what it is. I can't move it now, so I'm just having to cut the ends of every one. Since I have to cut them anyway, I'm going to go ahead and squaring up one end, and then I just set the other one up, mark it, and then cut it. It's the easiest way I know to do it, and both ends are square that way. This way is easier than trying to hold a tape measure out here with all the wind blowing. Stretch it across there, and it's just easier to set it up there, mark it, and then cut it off and set it right in place. Just like that. Here we go, this crazy weather again. It was low 60s out here yesterday, and now we're back down in the low 30s again. All right, I've gone and picked up all my deck boards. This first outside board, which is where I'm starting, I had to trim it. need to cut around this post on each end. And then I've got a pretty good size overhang, but the overhang is not going to be near as much once this gets trimmed out. Remember, there's going to be a piece of rough cut cedar that goes through there that's roughly 3/4 of an inch thick, and that's going to shallow up the overhang a little bit, but you still want it to, you know, it looks better if it hangs over a little. I've got all the deck boards for this first center section of the porch cut to length, so I'm going to go ahead and get all this stuff screwed down. Then I'll start working on the rest of it. I'll have to cut around all the rest of the posts, just like I did here in the front, and just depends on where it falls. I may have to cut it on one side or the other. I don't know yet. We'll find out in a minute. Any of you guys that work with all this dimensional lumber, any lumber, you know how none of it is straight. Even if they say it's straight, it's premium grade, whatever, it's not straight. You put it up here. I've got this first board. I made sure I had an even overhang all the way down, had to move it around. So now I know I've got a straight edge. If you look down through there, if you look here, I'm tight on the end, actually on both ends, but I've got a big gap in the middle. So the easy way to do that is you put a screw, you pull this up tight, put a screw in one end. You don't screw down both ends, because then you're kind of pinned. See if I can do this with one hand. You can just take a piece of rope. Tell you what, let me set this down. Take a piece of rope. I just put a loop in one end of it. And you can just pull it. It doesn't take much to pull it. I leave my rope long enough that I can stand on it. Then you just take one screw, make sure you're pulled up tight. And run you a screw down. And that's it. That closes up the gap. Now they make a special tool. You can buy it at all your big box stores, or if they don't have it in stock, you can order it. And it just slides over the floor joist, and it's got an arm, and you just pull it and do the same thing. But I've got $1 worth of rope, and they'll sell you a $50 tool to do the same thing. So I always try to keep my bow in the center. That way, you know, it's easier to pull it out of the middle than pull the end. Well, I guess you can tell sun's going down. I'm just about out of time for today, but I got cut around pretty much all of the main porch posts. Now I've got to start just laying them in and screwing them down, and it should go pretty fast all the way up till I get to that bottom log, and then it's not square or parallel with these outside posts. So I'll have to do some cutting and, you know, I don't know, I'll probably have to rip some boards on an angle or something. But that's it. That's all I can do for today. I'll get back out here tomorrow or the next day and try to get all this done. And then it's time to cut a big hole in here and start putting in at least a hole for a door anyway. walk in and out, start working on the floor.